does tell you.
There you go. Hi, Bryn. How are you?
I'm good. How are
Good,
you?
good, good. Before we start, you just came back from Sweden, and I'm just curious about flying wise. How was that?
It was really weird because I don't know. I thought it would be more strict than it was, but it was pretty good. Like everything's just dead in the airports. Like there's no one there. On every plane, like everyone has their masks on, and like they leave your food on the seat. So it's really like you just have like this bag of food sitting there. So it's like really weird to see, and you have to sign like all these documents saying like I don't have corona, which
Mm.
I could have lied. The
Yeah,
only place that they like actually like did something is like my last flight because I had to go Sweden to Amsterdam, Amsterdam to Toronto, Toronto home. So not too bad, but still like a bit of a milk run. And
yeah.
they like from Toronto to Calgary, they like point this like little gun at your head and take your temperature, and it was like really weird. But I don't know. It was like so like they don't have anyone in the airports, but ironically, like my last flight, they put me on with people that don't have to quarantine. So like it was
Oh,
like so like I'm like, okay, that seems kind of to defeat the purpose. But it's so weird to see like everyone's keeping distance at the airport, like everyone's so spread out, and like on like some of the planes people are dressed like in full hazmat gear, like they're like so concerned
oh.
for themselves. And I was like, okay. I'm
Is
like
there
there with my little mask. But
is there service? Like, do they bring you drinks and stuff, or?
well, like on like the flights they don't really like they'll bring you bottled water, but like
Okay.
say for like my huge flight they literally leave you like this massive bag with like oranges, like granola bars, a sandwich, like all this stuff is in the bag, and like you have like a pop in there and like a water, but they try really hard not to interact with you as much as possible. But
Okay.
yeah,
And
it
are
was
the flights full?
um yeah, they were pretty full, other than like the middle seat is always left open, which I way
Okay.
prefer. I wish that they would stick with that.
Yeah, yeah,
You don't feel like you're like in someone's lap then. So it was good. But it's so funny because they're like you have to keep your mask on at all times on the flight. Like you cannot take it off unless you're eating or drinking. So you would just like space out your like snacking just so that you can have like some fresh air because it was so gross.
Huh, interesting. And did you hear that as of yesterday, now you don't have to quarantine going into Europe from
Yeah.
Canada?
From Canada. Yeah, I did actually. My friends messaged me and they were like, so you're
Yeah,
coming back?
yeah, yeah. It's now you can fly into Europe. It's so that's pretty good.
Amazing.
Um, anyways, we'll get going here. First of all, Bryn, if you can just kind of introduce yourself and just kind of talk of how you started in handball and like your start of it, and then we'll get into the Alberta programs, Canada programs, you overseas, but just kind of how you got involved in handball and a little bit about yourself.
About myself. Okay. Yeah, so I started handball when I was like 15. I was in high school and like we played it in gym class, and this was back when like Notre Dame had handball for like 1 year. And so in gym class they were like, "Oh, like you know how to take 3 steps and shoot a ball. You should try out." And I was like, "Okay." But at the time I was like really into speed skating, and that was the dream, was to like go to Calgary and train there, and I was going to go do that, but I was looking for like an off-season sport. So then they were like, "Try this." And I was like, "Sure." And I remember like going to the tryout, and I think there was maybe 5 people cut, and like somehow they were like, "Oh, she seems coachable, like let's take her." So they took me, and then I remember coming home and I was like so excited because I was like, I made this handball team, and like I still didn't really know what it was. And like I remember telling my dad, and he was like, he thought that it was like the handball he played in high school where you just tap a ball against the
Yeah.
wall, and he was like, cool. Like he was like, so like why would you get excited about that? So he didn't really understand. And then I told him what it was, and he was like, oh, like that actually is cool. And yeah, I think like my whole first season I was playing back or pivot because they thought that like since I was a speed skater I'd be so strong in my legs, and like nobody really realized that like being left-handed was a benefit. So finally, like my very last game of my first season, somebody was like, hey, like she's left-handed, like you need to move her to the wing. And that's when I scored my first goal, and I was like, okay, I'm sold, this is like the best sport ever. And yeah, I'm trying to think like what then that I think that summer I played summer games. That was when that was still around at the Alberta Summer Games. And then after that, the next season I was like, oh, this is really fun. And that's when like you would talk to Chelsea. You're like, hey, like she's left-handed, like she's actually okay. Like you should tell her to play Alberta. And then that was when I didn't even know that that was like really a big thing. Like you just knew that a couple of the girls had done it, but I really knew nothing. And I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. Like, and yeah, went from there.
Um, your first year, you did at that time in 2015. Did Red Deer have a league yet, or was it just like you would go to tournaments?
Oh, that's so long ago. No, we did. I remember distinctly playing Thurber, but I don't think Hunting had a team yet. I think it was just us and Thurber. Like we fought to go to provincials, but the
Okay,
only reason we went that year was because we hosted.
so it was zone playdowns, but then you went to a few tournaments in Edmonton and
Yeah, like we didn't play that much at all. It was like
yeah.
the shortest season. Yeah, you did tournaments. I remember going to Bev Facey, but that was like it.
So then after your first year, then you went and tried out for the Alberta Summer Games.
Yeah, yeah, that
And
was fun. And then that was when I'd met, like, you realize that, like, there was, like, a lot of the people at the games all knew each other and they all played, like, Alberta. And that was when you kind of were like, ooh, what's this Alberta thing everyone's doing? And that was
yeah,
when okay, I want to be asked. Like,
yeah. And then your second year was when you kind of got more involved after the high school season.
yeah, that was when the Alberta tryouts, I was asked to come try out that year. And it was like me and Sarah Koopmans. That was the only person I knew. And I was like so scared because there's all these girls and I had no idea how many cuts they're making. And I like did not think I was going to make the team, but here I am.
And with some of the podcasts, like Greg Chauvet, which you know, when he was trying out for the youth development, his team was like his tryouts for guys was like 13 people, and like the growth of handball since
Oh,
then. Do you remember
yeah.
how you had?
How many we had? We had like, I don't know. We had nowhere near like what we do now. Like there wasn't like nearly, because we had how many teams? You didn't make that many cuts, but like there was still like 2 or 3 teams.
Yeah, so
So
there
there,
was about 30 to 40 people.
yeah, there was like 40 or 50 people there. So it still seemed like a lot at the time compared to my Notre Dame tryout. But
Yeah. So then you made the Alberta Youth Development. And then obviously, like everybody, when they get ready to go on the first trip, yours was Germany.
yeah.
Um, Everyone thinks they're going to go there and we're going to win everything. We're from Alberta. Did you have that mindset, or did you know that it was going to be tougher than expected?
Honestly, I didn't really have any mindset. I still was like just in shock that I'd kind of made the team. Like I remember literally getting on the flight to go to Germany. You were like, "Hey, did you see that? Like I put you on like the tryout for juniors," and I was like, you're like cool, but I was like, "What's juniors?" Like I had no idea what I was really getting into. And so
Yeah.
when we went there, I think yeah, like the first game, you're used to just like these low level. Like I don't know that I expected to win, but I didn't really expect to just get like beat up, and like I didn't expect to get like literally my face stepped in the dirt. Like we lost by so much. We didn't win one game that whole time. We were like lost by 60, I think, every game. It was
Because the
oh that was
first
like
game, I think if that was here, we played Olaf's team,
yes. And it
and
was
it
the
was
worst
like a
of our life.
Bundesliga team.
It was so hard. We were all just like in shock. And I remember like that gym was like a greenhouse. And it was like, it was just so shocking to like be in there and sweating. Like I distinctly remember one time Mark yelling at me because I'd shot and I was supposed to, but when I landed, like I was like sliding, but I stood up and I tripped in my own sweat. And Mark was like, Bryn, you need to get back on defense. I'm like, I swear I'm trying to come back. But
Yeah.
like I'm sweating so much in here. And like, yeah, I distinctly remember like that.
And I think on your team, I remember having conversation with you because you were the only like official right winger we took as a lefty. So
Yeah.
you're playing 60 minutes every game.
Like, yeah, so much. And I was so used because at Dame they'd give you like 2 minutes and pull you off like it was hockey. And so
Yeah.
I was like, where are the subs? Like, come on, somebody else needs to be going on here. And you guys would just be like, no, keep going. And I was like, are you kidding me? I don't have the cardio for this.
But after, like on that first trip, I mean, we talk a lot about it with players. Is it discouraging, or is it more motivational as we go on the first trip and you kind of get beat down, and you learn the hard work that you got to put in? Did it motivate you, or kind of
Um,
discourage you?
I think like losing by like a ton is kind of hard in a bit, and like in a sense, but like at the time, I think we were so fresh. We weren't really, I think it was motivating because like we hadn't really put in a ton of work. So it wasn't like like devastating to like. It obviously sucked. You were just like shocked, but it wasn't like the end of the world. You were like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, like you guys are really good, and like you
Yeah.
totally like it totally changed your perspective on like what the sport was. So I
Yeah.
think it was like I don't think it's good to go and win and like I mean, I think that you can. There's enough times that you will win in like the
Yeah.
future, but I think for our group, like we took so many losses in like that first year that I think it was so motivating for us. So then when we finally did win, it was the most exciting thing in the world because you're
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, we can do this.
Yeah, that's the thing. Eh? It's you go there and you lose, and then it's about coming back and the hard work you put in to get better. And it just depends on who does and who doesn't. Your second trip was Iceland.
Yeah, and I think we maybe won one game.
Okay, so you did win a game in Iceland.
I think so. I think that was like our first.
Yeah,
I don't really remember, but I think I think we got like one win, and we were just like ecstatic about it. We were so
yeah.
hyped because we
But at
finally.
that time, then you started training with the junior Alberta team, correct?
Yeah, and that was when like I was still pretty fresh, and I didn't really realize like I was still kind of like waking up to like how serious the sport was, but
Yeah.
that was when I think when I started training with the juniors, and I think at that same time that was when that juvenile tryout it was around then that we'd gone to Quebec to do the juvenile national tryout.
So on the first year that you were playing handball, is that the year you made the juvenile national team?
Yeah, because I started when I was in grade 11 with Alberta, and I went to the Pan Ams in grade 12, the like juvenile ones.
Oh, okay,
The,
okay. So your first year handball, like Alberta handball, when you trained more, was Germany, Iceland, and then the Pan Ams, or did you do? Was that the next year?
no, it was that summer. So in April we went to Chile.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So it was, because then from there, because I remember that whole next summer, I think I spent on like 10 planes going from like trip to trip to trip to trip, because that was also when IHF was. I
Oh,
don't
the
think I spent
IHF
as many
challenge.
months
Okay.
at home. Yeah.
So just before we get to that part, that year were you on the junior Alberta team in
Yeah, 'cause
Manitoba?
that was that Manitoba team. Yeah,
Okay.
that was when I decided that I was so
Okay.
serious. Like, I think because I was like really young on that team.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there was like Yuki in that, but Yuki'd been playing, and experience-wise, I was one of the younger ones. And I think that was when I decided I was like, no, this is for me. Like, I'm serious. Like, you don't mess with me anymore. Like, when I'm at handball, I'm at handball. Like, I'm here to train. Like
Yeah.
that junior team, like it was just such a change of like mindset compared to like like development, like you're there but you're going on trips, whereas this we were like training for something serious, and like you train
Yeah.
all year for that, and like there was no like it was just such a change of like mindset for me. That
And
was fun.
it's so true, right? Because development program is getting people involved in the sport, seeing how much they want. And then we saw so much potential in you. We asked you to play juniors, and then you played with like Abby Perry,
Yeah,
who played in the Elite Series in Norway. Who was it? Kennedy Graham,
Kennedy,
Kira
Kira
Moyen.
on the team then.
So that's a year we just dominated at juniors.
Yeah, and that
Yeah,
was and I remember like first like that year had been like it was like we put in so much. There was like a lot of time and energy into that team, and like when we won, that was like the most victorious moment. I mean, I was on the bench at the time, but I was like, yeah, this is like, it didn't matter like how much you'd been on the court. Like you were just like, after like all the time you put in that year, like you were just like so stoked because you're like,
yeah.
yeah, it was worth it at that
And,
moment.
and so at that time you were training more than you made the national team. So you had
Yeah,
the Pan Am Championships in Chile, was it?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was in Santiago, and it was me, Chelsea, Ashlyn, and
Brittany.
Britt. Yeah,
Yeah. And then you had IHF that summer.
yeah,
Do you want
yeah.
us to tell us? So that year, like, I mean, now you've gone from just learning the sport to now playing at the highest stage that you can in Canada and in Pan America. Can you, like, a little bit explain your experience with the Pan Ams in the IHF Challenge?
Pan Ams were like, I think anytime that you can like wear
Yeah.
the Canadian colors, you definitely should. Like
Yeah.
even I think again, like we went and we just got destroyed. But like it's so incredible to see where these other countries are, even just in like South America, like these are countries like I didn't even know that much about Paraguay or like Uruguay, and then we go and like we just got like destroyed by them. And but it was like you just like didn't give up the whole time because you were still like I work to be here. I'm so excited. And like I think that like it was so good going from that to IHF because IHF like obviously it was like a little more even, the competition. It was older also, like that was the U20 one.
Yeah.
But like when we were there, like after being like I don't know, like we never really quit even in like the 60 minutes, other than like we're not going to talk about the whole throwing the ball away thing. That was an interesting coaching choice. But like at IHF, I think like that was like such, it still like breaks my heart to think about that final game and like how we lost. And it's like so frustrating to think of like the things we could have done to just like change it up. But I think that like, yeah, it was like such a like growth year because you just like you'd gone from like losing all these things to like getting these games where you were being successful and you could see how much growth like we even had as players. Yeah. And then like yeah, I recommend it to anyone, like if you have the chance to like keep pushing and play at these higher levels, like totally do it. It's like I don't think any experience is gonna like impact you negatively. I think it's good. Like even if you're in the developmental stage, like you have to start somewhere, and like eventually we'll get there.
Yeah. And in the IHF, I mean, you guys made the finals, right? And it was, and I mean, not trying to dwell on it, but you guys were up most of the game. And then I don't know if you know, but on our YouTube page for Alberta Handball, there's the highlights of that finals.
I'll have to go look at it. Yeah, actually, I think I have seen it because I think me and Yuki chest bumped when that girl gets the red card.
Yeah, when she got the red card, exactly. So after that, obviously your motivation was super high. I think that's when you decided to move to Edmonton, where if no one knows, Edmonton is the bigger hub for handball. And really, if you want to make it to the next level, you got to kind of come to Edmonton when it comes to Alberta handball.
That was when I like that summer I gave up speed skating and I said like this is not what I said like if I'm gonna do speed skating I can come back and I can do it later, but I said like handball I can be in Edmonton and I can travel the world and I can get this experience. And I just really love the sport. Like I think it's such like a mental game and it's like just so intriguing. Like there's so many different like solutions in the game for so many, like every situation has a new solution, and I find it so like intriguing. And I loved spinning in circles, but this was the goal. So I finally like it was that year like getting all that experience and seeing like just how talented these other athletes were, like, and they were all my age and I was like I want to be them. So that was when
And I think for me anyways, as I coached you for the Alberta team for some of it, is that your improvement though. I think when you started, you're probably doubting yourself that you can make it to something compared to your improvement, seeing when you got after development, when you got to play elite, when you got to play Alberta juniors, you saw that your improvement, you saw the success that we have, and then you making the national team. I'm sure that that helps you and your motivation to go forward.
Yeah, and I even remember like after like I learned about juniors, like I remember being like, whoa, like this is really cool opportunity. And then I remember like the first time you ever said like, hey, like you kind of just like sideline it. You're like, there could be potential to like trap for a national team here. And I was like, I remember telling my parents and I was like, hey, but we got to keep this quiet. Like we don't know if this is for real. Yeah. And then like when you get that chance, you're just like you don't know what to do. It's like overwhelming. And I remember being so nervous the whole tryout. But I think like it was really cool to see like the development. And I think a lot of it was like the coaches and the players were really like positive, and they were like, you're doing well, like you are improving, and like everyone like was pushing me to do this. And they like, I think if I didn't have like the support system I did, I wouldn't have like gone nearly as far. And I was like, hey, I can do this.
Yeah, that's good. Your second year, now when you moved to Edmonton, you are now training with the senior Alberta team as well, correct?
Yeah, I was. I was training. Yeah, that was the year because we had also entered as we were Titans in the league. So we were in a couple league teams. That's right. Because I was training with the juniors still. I was still a junior. But we'd lost a lot of the juniors. So then I was training with the seniors. And then we were doing like a lot of league games.
Yeah.
And But didn't we have, no, we had Sweden, not Sweden, Denmark. What was
This
the trip?
summer we went to Spain, Italy.
Spain, Italy. That was, yeah. And that
Yeah.
was,
And
yeah.
then again, you couldn't go to Spain because of grad, but then
Yeah, but
Italy,
Italy.
and
That was my favorite Alberta trip ever.
and then to think about it, like we went undefeated, we made the semifinals, and we lost in the semifinals, and then, but I mean, compared to 11 months from losing everything to going to an international tournament and finishing top 4 in an international tournament,
Oh, that was
and
so great.
yeah, and yeah, I mean, and we went with, I think, like we went with a very good team, but it just showed your progression in 1 year.
Well, and I think like even I remember that team specifically because one, we had like the nicest schedule ever. Like we
Yeah.
played in the mornings. It wasn't too hot then. We weren't playing on the concrete. We were playing, and like I remember like even like that whole group, we had like an unspoken truce that like when it was handball time, like we were there for handball. So I think
Yeah.
even like with the coaches, like there was just like a level of respect between the players and them where it was like, okay, like you worked hard on the court, go to the beach, come back when these guys are playing, see you later. And then like we worked so hard, but I think towards the end of the tournament, like you could just see like the fatigue had finally set in and like the physicality. So we just, it was a frustrating
Well,
loss.
yeah. I remember it was a perfect schedule for you guys. We'd get there for 9 a.m, play on center court, and then you guys would be done by 9:45. And then I'd be like, "Hey, be back for 3 o'clock to watch the guys," and then you guys would take the train to the beach.
Yeah, we just went and we had like, it's still like one of like my favorite highlights looking back at handball. Like it was just, and like I was there for handball. Like you couldn't have convinced me otherwise. Like I was off that high of like the win at nationals, and I was like, this is what I want to do. So
Then moving forward, obviously your goal, I know, then became to make it to the highest level you can, but then you had a setback.
yeah, so that year when I moved to Edmonton, that was
Yeah.
when we'd been playing a bunch in the league. We were also in the guys league that year because I was training with the seniors. And then the junior team that year, we'd gone to California in January, and the last game of the tournament against West Point, who I'd lost to previously, and I wanted to redeem myself.
Not with Alberta. Not with Alberta.
No, not with Alberta. Yeah, that's right. I lost I was a juvenile, but I lost. I was so mad, but I was so excited. We'd been having such a great tournament. We were undefeated.
We won the tournament at that time because it was just round robin, so that game didn't even mean much.
Yeah, but I'd had like something going on with my knee before, and I just was running a fast break all on my own, and next thing you know, I land funny. And I remember you were like, at first you were like, I wasn't even going to come on the court because I thought you were just laughing. And I was like, I just shoot the ball and just lay down and get a good belly laugh. And I'm like, haha, this is hilarious. But no, I just, so that's when I ripped my knee up pretty good. So that was frustrating.
Obviously, you just went to surgery right away, didn't you? You got surgery pretty quickly, or did you have to wait a while?
I had surgery 3 months later. So it took a bit to figure out what had gone on because, I mean, I was swollen, and I mean, at the tournament, they're like, I don't think you did anything. And I was like, it hurts. So they figured it out, and I was kind of fast tracked, and it's good because even that knee program that I did, like there's a lot of programs now to get athletes in really fast because they recognize that like we need our knees and we need them now. So it is really cool to see. But it only took me 3 months, and then I had surgery.
So you took the next year off? Was that you took a full year off?
Not a full year off. By November or December, I had started like practicing, I think. I didn't go on the trip. I did go to Auburn with the team because I wanted to, but that was just heartbreaking to sit there and watch everybody.
Yeah.
Like, like you're just like, you want to be able to help your team, especially when like they're struggling in a game. Like you're sitting there and you don't even know what you can do for them because you want to be able to like contribute. And so that was when Sweden Denmark was that summer, and I just said like, I need some time away from the sport just to like, I'm having an identity crisis because I was like, what am I without sports? Like, so I took some time off that summer, but then in the fall I was back in Edmonton still going to school. And that's when I kept coming to training, and I was just doing my stuff on the sidelines. But I think by December I was starting to, like November, December. I had started to train again.
Because I think your first competition back was a City of Champions tournament.
City of Champions. Is
Oh
that
no, now it's called Alberta Cup. Sorry, the
oh
Alberta Cup
City
in
of Champions.
Calgary.
Yeah, right. I think that was my
First,
first
I think you were able to train like full out for like 3-4 weeks before that.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot, but I was
No,
like determined.
yeah,
There was no, it's so hard when you come back to like not overdo it. Like you just see everybody there and they're like, you're not supposed to do a one-on-one, but you just want to. You're like, it's really hard not to go slow. Like it's like adrenaline rush and you're like, I'm really sorry. But and like,
and then
yeah.
you played at junior nationals, which was at home, and senior
Yeah,
nationals,
junior and senior. Yeah.
and then we won both.
Yeah, we
And
did.
you like to think about it, you got all-star first team on, you got first team all-star.
I got second and first, but I think it was second for juniors and first for seniors. I don't remember.
Yeah, you got all-stars in both. I know
And
that.
well, yeah, which going like thinking about a year ago, I was strapped to a bed with like ice on my knee. Then
Yeah,
I was really happy to like be back and be like, okay, you can do this again. Next goal
yeah.
is to knee brace off because that was
But
the worst.
like I think like when you look back, obviously you don't want to see anyone hurt, but like I think the growth you had as a individual was huge in that year, because before that, for me as a coach, you were very down on yourself a lot and you were very hard on yourself. So you, but I think I don't know if you did a lot of mental training, but when you came back, you always like, for me anyways, just seeing you play is you always had a positive mindset out of everything. So
Yeah, I
like
think
I saw a huge growth in you in that time.
yeah, I think it was like yeah, before I definitely was like I am very like difficult on myself in a lot of things. Like I'm
Yeah.
always like, oh, it needs to be better. Like I really want to like perfect it. Like I'm like, nope, you gotta push. But I think that year, like because you had to like just watch everybody else do it, and like anytime if you were sitting on the sidelines, if somebody was like, oh, like I'm just so tired today, I just don't want to train, and I was like, dude, you get to train today. Like what I would give to trade places with you. And so I think it was like a lot more like, okay, maybe things didn't go the way they did, but that's not the end of the world. And like, I do think that a lot of things were better, but yeah, it took a heck of a lot to like get myself to the point where I was like, when you were on that court, you were just grateful to be there. And like,
Yeah.
you just were like, I'm just so happy to be out here and I'm so happy to be touching a ball. And like, yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was super great. But I also like, as much as like the knee injury it was really hard. It was also really rewarding because I've said to a few people before, I said, you don't realize like the support network you have in like your teammates, your coaches, like even like your family and your friends. Like there's so many people that are supporting you and want to see you be successful. And like, it's really easy when like you're at full capacity to not recognize that and be like, yeah, I'm working hard, I'm doing this. But once you are like injured and like you need that extra help, like to see the people that are like putting it in and like helping you get there and like are like there for you when you can't do it, it makes a world of a difference. And so yeah, coming back, I think I just was like, so I was just like way too grateful to be there. I was like, no, I'm just happy to be on the court. I think the pressure came later because I had to really train myself out of the like, you don't have to always be working, you can enjoy this for a bit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it was good.
Going forward, I mean, now going to a little bit, you got to the senior national team. I think your first competition was in Mexico. Was that your first competition, the Norca?
Yeah, I
Like a
started in the
senior,
program,
like
but
official?
I was named to the Norca team. So yeah, so that was my first official tournament.
And how was that like experience?
Um, yeah, that experience was it was unbelievable. I mean, it again, you're going to a tournament and you're gonna get pummeled by these other athletes who are all, which to be fair, they're all playing in like Europe or other, they're in high level teams and they're there and they're serious. And so I think it was just the most amazing tournament in the sense that like I just couldn't, again, like it was like being back in Chile for the first time and you realize how many talented women there are in this place. And it was just like the whole atmosphere, like you have random little kids coming up to you and they're like, can I get your autograph, I just love your team, like you guys are great. And like you realize how young the team is when you look at some of these women that are playing there. Like
Yeah.
some of them are talking to you and like it was really great to like see I think it was just like so great to like have that experience and see like where you can get to like by looking at these teams. And that was when like I came home from that tournament and I was like, yeah, okay, we lost. And yeah, like as always, like there's things that could have been changed, but I I just like I remember talking to like my roommate at the time and I was like, that Europe dream, that is back on the radar. Like I want to play at that level all the time. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to just go to this once in a while. Like I want to be those people. So
Yeah, that's good.
yeah.
Um, Going to that, I mean, I've been part of the national team for a long time, not anymore, but what like a lot of talk is like we lose, we kind of lose when we get to the bigger stages. What's the issue? We have players. The thing is, like, when you look at Alberta and Quebec are the two bigger ones, there's amazing handball players.
Mhm.
But what do you think is the issue or that we need to get to be able to compete with the bigger teams? Because we have great individual handball players.
I think like obviously I think it's like a really hard thing to pinpoint like one
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
I know that obviously like one thing is like even when I talk to people in Sweden, like I was like, you have to remember the size of your country is like the size of my province. And so
yeah,
for you, it's really easy to go play against all these really talented people that are an hour away or a couple
yeah,
hours or worse, like, you know, like, but I'm like, for me, I have to take a flight across the country to get to like other, like, obviously there is like, it's growing in a lot of provinces, but there's like it's not at the same level in all the provinces and we don't get I think a big thing is like the experience just of like playing really like because I'm so used to playing with like the same people all the time and like
yeah,
which is really great for playing in tournaments because you know what they're going to do but I'm also really used to playing against the same people all the time so I can adjust my game to what they're going to do. I don't have to be actively thinking about like oh is she going to do this, like I don't have to be ready for all of that. And I think because we're so spread out we don't get to see those other like I think that like especially like obviously there's always been like an Alberta Quebec kind of like rivalry even at nationals, like everybody like when we come to play each other we come it's like business, like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
you're here and it's serious. But the sad part is like yeah I think we do have really talented individuals but we just don't have the chance to play each other all the time to like help each other get better. So um like it's one thing to train together all the time and I think it's so great the sport's going, but we just need to have more of those talented players so that we can always be getting those like high level intense games because it's when you get to those higher levels like people can change what they're doing, like there's so many different styles and
yeah,
if we're not used to that, if I'm used to like if I'm not going to go as hard on you at defense at home, nobody's going to go easy on me there. So
yeah,
they're gonna it's I think the we just it just needs to keep growing. Like I don't even know what to say and I think obviously there's their own the CTHF stuff, but
yeah,
that's political and
yeah,
separate. But I think we do have talent, and I think like there's like a lot of really good technical players, but I think experience is just a
yeah.
huge thing at that level because everybody else has so many years, and we just don't have the same experience. So when those new things show up, then you're like you know you don't have time, and like you only have this one tournament you're working towards. You don't have the whole
Yeah.
season to like fix it. So
Yeah. And like again, it's like you can do a lot, but then it becomes resources. And some people can afford the resources, some people can't. And so
well,
sometimes you lose some of your better players because, like you said, for us to gain experience, you got to go to Europe, you got to go somewhere else to really get that next level of handball. But then it's $2,000 here,
so
$2,000
expensive.
here, and then again, when you look back, it's all worth it. But at
Yeah.
the time, sometimes you just don't have the money for it.
No, which is so true. And I think as the sport, I think that's one of the tough things is even when you look at like money allocation in sport, like a lot of people, like you have to make a name for yourself before you get money, but you also need money to get there. Like you need
Yeah,
money to like help like grow things. And so it's a really tough like line to be like,
yeah,
okay, like you've shown you can do it, but it's like, well, we can't show you because we need the opportunity. And so that's why like I think things like the new didn't the IHF start, there was supposed to be a U24 thing where they're trying to
yeah,
open things up more
yeah,
because I think it is so important to like promote these like less developed countries
yeah,
to like help them get that world stage, because
Yeah.
I think we could do it. I think we have the talent to do it, but
Yeah.
we just need the support to get there. So
Yeah, like the IHF Challenge is funded, and they're supposed to be sometime the U24, which is funded as well, which then it helps a lot.
yeah, it makes such a difference, and especially when like the international federation is saying like, hey, we recognize that like I think like in like North America and Canada, like if you could get handball to be huge, these are
Yeah,
huge like media hubs. You could
yeah,
really promote the sport if it
yeah,
becomes a thing here. So yeah,
exactly.
I think that like distance and money are like huge impacts to like our potential. So
Yeah, well said. Now, after you played in Mexico with the national team, uh, I remember getting a message for you. I had no clue. I think it was sometime in August. Hey, thought I'd let you know that I'm moving to Sweden to go to school, and I found a club to play with, which I think is awesome. Uh, First of all, if you could explain how that came,
that was so random, right? I did. I was like, yeah, I should probably let Mike know I'm leaving. That
yeah,
was
if you can tell as how that got, how it came apart, and then the experiences in the season, like your life there, your experience, because a big part is that, like I say, we have. I mean, right now our young talent is incredible in Alberta. We're getting more and more. I mean, we have U14 teams, we have a U13 league. Um, some seriously talented 14 and 13-year-olds that have made it their sport. But like again, my objective is hopefully that they get to do things that you did, Greg Chauvet did, Katia did, Abby, Kim Iwanovich, Katie, Cassidy. Um, so if you can kind of how that came and like your experience, so who knows, maybe someone else will want to do it.
yeah. So yeah, I would, if you're gonna do it, be more organized than I was, because I was a mess. But yeah, so a few years ago, before I'd blown up my knee, you and I had talked
Yeah,
about sending me to maybe Germany or Norway,
yeah,
and and then I had the knee injury. So after my knee injury, I was like, oh well, I love obviously the Norwegian national team. They're my favorite team in the world. So I was like, okay, well, U of A offers Norwegian, but for some reason couldn't take Norwegian, so I took Swedish instead, because I thought, oh, they're close. And so I started
Sorry,
taking,
you took Swedish classes?
yeah,
I did not know that.
I took it for a year,
Okay.
and then I took a year off of it. I didn't even like continue with it. But so then, yeah, I went to Norca, and it was just like I was just in awe, and I was looking at all these players, and they were all playing like all over the world, and I was like, okay, I'm back on that. I need to go play in Europe. Um, I really wanted to, and I was talking to um, a really close friend of mine, and I was saying like, I still think I really want to do this, and obviously like the Pan Ams had been last summer, and it was really hard to be like an alternate for that, where you're like training really like you're
Yeah.
training a lot, and then to like not go. So it was like I was like, I just needed something to like change of direction. Like I was like, I want to get to that point where I can be on that team. So I was like, I need to do the next step to do that. So then when I came back from Norca, I was like, hey, I need to go to Europe. And so I looked up where you can do exchanges with U of A, because they have like they have so many exchange opportunities if you want to go abroad. So I looked up, and Uppsala was one of them that I could still apply for, because this was very late. So I applied for it, and I found out that I got it, but then I was like, oh, well, I need to find a team. Like, because I realized that Swedish and Norwegian aren't as close. Like, they are close, but they're not that close. So I was like, I do know some Swedish, so I'll go to Sweden. So that makes the most sense for me. So I went to, I think I got accepted when I was in Montreal training that summer with the
Okay.
national team. And when I was training there, I talked to Natalie, and we were talking, because I said like, I don't know if Uppsala has a team. I don't know. So one of her old teammates was living in Sweden and had said like, here's the teams, like, because Nat had said, I want you playing in a Division 1 team at least. Like, I want you there. So we were looking into different teams. So we found 2 teams that were in Division 1, but they were outside of Uppsala, and then we found Uppsala HFK, which is in the city. And so I actually, when I was emailing the teams, I'd like sent them an email about myself, just saying, hey, I'm interested. Like, I like sent them this big email, but because I'm international, they weren't getting my emails because they were going to trash. Like, they all think it's spam. So I actually ended up contacting the girl again in Sweden to say, hey, can you actually just call them and tell them to look out for my email? And that was when Peter at Uppsala actually contacted me and said, hey, like, we see that you want to play with us. Like, that's so great. We're really happy to have you. Like, if you want to do this. And I was kind of like, oh, like at the time I thought they were in Division 2. So I was kind of like, okay. But then I asked him, I was like, can you explain handball in Sweden? I don't really know much about it. Like, I was like, I know that like you guys are very developed, but I'd like to like understand how it works. And so he sent me like a breakdown. He said, yeah, but we've actually moved up to Division 1. We qualified last year. So, and I was like, perfect, here I come. Like, this is great. So so I talked to him, I talked to the coach a little bit, and then I just kind of, like within a couple days, I was like, hey, well, I guess I'm going. So I really had like no life plans set up, and I didn't really know what I was doing. So with school, I did school online in the fall because I had applied too late to do the fall term.
Mhm.
So I was taking online courses because there's a couple universities that are strictly online that you can do them through, or U of A has some online courses, but for science, there's not a ton.
Yeah.
So I was taking online courses. I figured out, I talked to student housing, again, very late. Do not be like me if you want to go. Apply early. I was supposed to live in a hostel for 3 weeks because I didn't want to live in a hotel. It was too expensive. But luckily, I met a family and they adopted me for those 3 weeks.
Oh,
I left
nice.
the hospital for three days. I was like, please, I need out. I was like, I can't do it. So I just kind of on a whim was like, okay, I'm going to go to school there in January, and I'm going to do online in the fall. I'm going to get myself sorted, get the handball team and everything, and then I'll set into like school life. But it worked out just so unbelievably well, because Uppsala, I would say, it's like a really perfectly sized city. Like, it's like you bike everywhere. You can take the bus if you really need. Like, it's small enough. It's like it's similar in the sense, I would say, to Red Deer's size, but it's got like way more people, and it's a student city. So there's tons of students and stuff there. So it's really well. It just like worked out so well. Like, I was just really happy with it. And if you need to go to the big cities, I train right away, and it takes like maybe less than an hour to get to Stockholm by the train. So it worked really well, and all the trainings were really close by. Like, we trained there. I immediately was like, because in the fall, since I was studying online, I was like, does anybody need help coaching? I was doing a lot of volunteering at different places outside of handball, but I also started coaching, and I was playing with the team, and it was really good. Like, I mean, the language barrier was a bit of a shock, but overall, like, I was like so happy with the team, and they were all really welcoming. Like, at first, a couple of them were really nervous to use English, but they all speak English there pretty well. So it was really great. But I'm not sure.
So now, how do you play Division 1?
Yeah, so I played Division 1. I also played a couple junior games, and I also played Division 2 a couple times.
Junior,
So,
you're a junior there?
No. So in the junior games, you can have 2 overage players.
Oh, nice.
So sometimes they were like, we need like help. We need a couple extra players just to like fill our bench. Because they had like a really talented junior group, but they had a few injuries. So they just needed a couple extra players. And they were like, do you want to do it? And I was like, absolutely, I'll do it. So sure. What are you doing tonight? You want to come play? And I was like, okay, here I am. So it was really great to get to like play, because we have so many. I think there's like 35 women in the program, or there was last year. So you have the 2 teams, and then every week they just send out the lists for the 2 games, and like they have weird rules where like it depends when the games are in the weekend. So whether or not, like if you play in Division 1, you can't just go back down.
Yeah.
If you're like over junior age. So like whereas juniors can play in whatever they want. So I think that had I been younger and come here, I could have played in a ton of games. But yeah, it was really cool.
And how's the level?
It's so fast. Like the Division 1 games especially, like there's not a lot of room for error. Like it's like, and I think one of the real amazing things about our team is it's not a team where, again, it's very different because like say in Alberta, like if I'm playing in a game, like I best be getting like at least 5 goals. Like I'm here to like make a difference. But like there it's a team where one like if you win by 10 goals, that's a lot. Like that's a ton because it's like so competitive and like all the teams are like so tight. But our team, especially in the Division 1, we were a team of like where it's a team where you don't just have one person scoring like 10 goals. You have everyone scoring 2 goals, and that's how you're going to win. Because it was like we had a very, very talented group of girls, and even in Division 2, like it was cool to play with like all the different players and like all the different, because we have the Division 1 team is the A group that is like so I would train with them and then play with them or play with Division 2, and then the U team is the developing team. So that's the team where you just like, again, it's like a group of like younger ones or people that are less competitive, and you just go play in the Division 2, which again, like the top teams in Division 2 are very, very talented. Like these, like because the top, I think it's the bottom 4 in Division 1 can have to fight to go up and down every year. So it's a highly competitive group, and like you just like the ball speed is just impressive. Like that ball is just whizzing by you, and like half the time you're like you have like no idea how the ball is in the net. And you're just like, well, like I thought I ran the beep test back home. I ran the beep test so much. Like it was so exhausting. Like, it was great.
And coming from Canada and Alberta and playing on the national team, you think like when you got there, your skills were good enough to play at that level? You think you like when you look back at your development, were you developed well enough to be able to play at that? Or when you got there, were you like, oh boy, I haven't, like my skills are just not there?
It depends on the skills. I think one of the huge things that was really helpful in Alberta is we focus so much on technique. And so a lot of people did say like, you have very good technique. And when I say like, when I'd be like, oh, I've only been playing for like 5 years, they're like, no, you haven't. And they're like, what? Because they've all been playing for like at least 10 years, if not 15 plus. And so they're all like, no way. They also, a lot of people said they were really impressed with, because we are so late learning, they're like, you take critique really well. And I was like, well, yeah, I've been like, I don't have half the time to learn this. Like they're like, you're very good about ball speed. Like they do help in, I think one of the huge things that I improved on there is like my just overall game knowledge, and like you don't like just like recognizing like this is when I can go, this is when I can't, and just like being in the right place when you needed to be, just because there wasn't that room for error and it was so fast, you just had to be ready. Like they like, doesn't matter where they are on that court, that you better know where your person is, because that ball could be coming to them and like you need to be responsible. So but I think Alberta does such a good job of like, we're just like that technique and getting yourself there. Like it's those repetitions that like are really important, because when you get there, you want to be like that all-star, and they have like wicked arms. Like they can like a laser. But I think that like the game knowledge, they definitely had me beat. And so like there was a lot of things that I told a lot of the girls, I was like, please, if you have like critiques for me or anything, I was like, you guys have been doing this for years. Like, I was like, please tell me. And like, even like so many times they're like, if you don't have to dribble, do not put that ball on the ground. Like it's so sticky, first of all. Secondly, anytime you let it go, that's a chance for you to lose it. So like, it was just like, you do not like, so it was so cool to see like the ways that they were like, you improve that speed just by like doing this. And like, they're always like, go for you. And like, they're very supportive. But yeah, I think it was so great to be in Alberta and like have that, like, because you just get so many repetitions, and we work a lot on individual stuff. Like when I was here, we did, whereas there it's we're at the point where like they're like, well, you've had years of individual
Yeah.
stuff. We still do work on it, but not to the same degree. So
No.
it's,
Yeah.
it's a lot more on like that gameplay and like how can we make this better and like focus on our defense and stuff.
Yeah.
So
And I mean, I've coached in overseas, and knowing a lot of coaches and our players that play over, that's a lot of what everyone says is like, they say, we're so impressed with the individual skills of your players, but you can tell they've played for 4 or 5 years.
yeah, it's just like our experience level is not the same. Like,
Exactly. But we, like you said, we have leagues, we have everything, but again, you know everybody. So you know, like, you train with the best players in Alberta, even though you're on different clubs.
yeah,
You train with them 3-4 times a week. So when you play them, you know their weaknesses.
yeah,
And
exactly.
that's what every coach said, even about Abby Perry. They said she's an unbelievable handball player, but you see she's only played for 4 years.
Like it
And like,
definitely
it's
shows.
the IQ.
Yeah, you do not have the same smarts that they do. And like, and because it's so physical, like like there is just like like in Alberta, it is like a law. You do not touch a wing in the air. You do
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
We are saints. In Sweden, you can be pretty physical on a wing. And I think the first time I nearly died, I was so scared. I mean, they obviously, like, if you stomp in the way and like purposely trip them, they call you out on it. But they let a lot go, and it's like I remember just being like, you at first I was like, what? Like, you can't do that. That's not allowed. But they're like, no, like that's allowed here. Like you can do that, and like it's so physical. Like when someone grabs you, it's like hitting a brick wall, and so you just have to learn to fight through it, because it's not like you get to, which I think it's really good. Like in Alberta, like you have like the years where you can walk through it, like, you walk through it slowly and then you build up the speed so that you can get there. But here they've had those years. So like they just throw you in there and they're like, you better figure out how to get around her. And I'm like, I can't get over like some of the, like our threes, when I had to shoot over them, I would just have a heart attack because they would block me so much. Like in the beginning, it took so long for me to figure out how to like mess with them and like use my arm differently. And I was just like, it's just so impressive. Like they just know exactly how to read what's going on. And I was like, please teach me. Like I want to be able to do that, but you got to show me how, because I don't know what you're doing.
And that's a perfect example. Is like here we work on one-step jump shots, quick releases, and people are like, well, why? I like my 3 steps. It's easier to shoot. I'm like, you don't get 3 steps in
Not get
Europe.
reset.
That you'll get blocked 100% of the time if you
Yeah,
take
they
three
know what's
steps to
coming.
shoot. Yeah,
They know exactly what's coming. You have to be versatile.
yeah,
And like you don't know what's like, you have to be able to see if someone's going to cheat. You got to know that that pass has got to go there, and just to like have that pass quickly. And like
yeah.
it was such a shock. Like I was just having like the best time. Like the whole, like, even it didn't matter if I was on the bench or on the court. Like I was just like so engaged, and
And that's a good attitude to have, because like what I've realized about a lot of our players, because they're dominating Canada,
Mhm.
but they go to overseas and they're like, well, I'm not playing enough. It's like I'm not starting it. In Europe, you have to earn your time.
Yeah.
And that means starting on the bench. It doesn't matter how good you are. You're a new player on that team. You have to earn your time. And I think mentally, a lot of our players, because they go from 40, 50, 60 minutes a game to now to starting at 5, 6 minutes a game. And they get so discouraged by it.
Well, and I think like especially for me, you have to think this team just moved up to Division 1. Like they've been fighting back and forth to stay in it. So they were there, and we actually, like, I wasn't the only new player. It's a student city, so you get a lot of new ones. And I remember like I'm like, this team just moved up. Like I'm like, why would I ever think I could start over someone who's earned the right to be on this, in this Division 1 league? Like they've earned the right to be on this court. I need to show that I also have a right to be on this court. And like, you don't just get to like I just, yeah, you have to earn every single minute. Like you have to be out there, and you, like, I think, yeah, attitude is so big, because like that's like, I'm there to learn. So I was like no, like I'm here to do whatever. And I think one of the great things about playing where I did was the fact that there was that the second division.
Yeah.
So when so sometimes, because in that top team, because it was like a more, like everyone could get a couple goals, whereas like if I was like, like sometimes it was nice to go play with Division 2, and that team was a lot more wing based, and they were super good about like as much as it's like still a very fast game and still like a very like I think it was still a good level, especially the top Division 2 teams.
Yeah.
It was still like a chance for me to be like, okay, I do know how to put a ball in a net, and I still do have that chance to just kind of reset and be like, okay, like I know I can do this. And like obviously for me, I don't like trying things on the court unless I think I can do it 100%. Like I'm like, they're like, try the one-on-one. I'm like, not unless I know I can do it. I don't want to look like an idiot.
Yeah.
So I'm like, so I think Division 2 is really good for me to like play a couple games there. And then I'm like, okay, like I have the confidence, I'm good. And then I'm back up there and I'm like, yeah, I think you really have to go into like Europe with the mindset, like, yes, you're an all-star in Canada. And yes, when you come back, you'll still be an all-star. You're fine. Like you're a good player. But you need to understand that these other kids, they're also very good players, and they have earned the right. They have shown these coaches their dedication, and you have to show it. You don't just like walk in with any like you don't get like you earn it 100%. So you have to go there with that mindset, being like, I'm here to learn and I'm here to get better. I'm not the best, or I would be in Champions League.
Yeah, so. Good point. And how did your guys' season ended? Obviously, COVID probably ended it early.
No, actually, we got a little lucky, but so our season, the first half was really, it was okay. Like we were struggling a little because again, we were all new players. Like a lot of us were new, so we were trying to figure each other out. Like it's tough when you don't know how the other person is going to react. Like I'm like, if I attack low, are they going to know to follow me? But we were struggling, and then we also ended up having like a coaching change just to have like a change of energy. Like there was like stuff going on in the personal life, and they just weren't able to like provide as much for the team that they needed to. So we switched, and it was just such a huge change in the team, and we ended up I think we were sitting 6th. So next year the goal is like now we're gonna go, because we ended up beating, I think Tumba is one of the top teams, and we ended up beating them by 10 goals in our second game against them.
Wow.
So yeah, it was like an incredible game against them, and like so it was really good. But because we ended up 6th, we didn't have to fight to stay. We were just set. So we played I played the last 2 games, one with Division 2 and Division 1 the last weekend, and we just couldn't have any spectators. But because we didn't have to fight to stay, our season just ended, and that was it. Like we played
a week ago you were playing games, or
no, like at the end of the season. So whenever we finally shut it down, they just said at the end, they were just like, no, you can do that. But yeah, it was really it worked out really well. We just like, Corona was like starting to be a big thing, and they just said, okay, well now sports can't have spectators. And then right after that, the next weekend, they shut sports down. Like we weren't allowed to play handball anymore. So we got like really lucky with that. So
that's good.
Yeah.
Going forward, what's your plan for are you going back to Sweden?
I want to go back. It was so great. I joked when I first got there. I was talking to my mom, and I was like, well, I still really want to go to Norway one year. And I was like, or maybe the Netherlands, or maybe somewhere. Like, I was like, it'd be nice to switch it up. But like, it's also very tiring. Like, I went to Sweden, I knew no one. I didn't know a soul. And now it's like at the end, you know all these people, and you're actually friends with them. And the team was doing really well. And now our goal, we want to move up. We want to get to the next level. So I would really like to be a part of that. And so it'll be interesting to see if I can. And we just got a goalie from Norway. She used to play in the top league as well.
Do you know what team?
Pardon?
Do you know what team?
No, I'd have to look. But she took a couple years off because of her knee. She had both of her knees have had surgery, I think, but she just is living there now, and she just started playing with us. And like, now that she's been practicing a couple times, like I was just like, we would have competitions with her to see, like, because she just makes us look like chumps. Like she just catches your ball every time, and you're like, hey, please let me get in the net. So we have competitions. Me and the other wings will like compete with her to see like who can score more in a game. So when we were like training at the end before I left, then I was like, yeah, like I can beat you. So that was the next thing. So it was super fun to like shoot on her, and like her passing to the wing on like a fast break. Oh, immaculate. It was so beautiful.
That's Norwegian handball.
Oh, the passes, like, I
Yeah,
remember one of the other wings was there, but she wasn't training, and she's like, "I don't think she missed a single pass." Like,
yeah,
it was perfect every time. And she's
yeah,
like, "And she's had time off." And I was like,
yeah.
"She's the
Uh,
nicest person." But yeah.
in talking to Kim on her podcast, she throws fast breaks to Camilla Herring.
Oh
Uh,
gosh, I couldn't
and
imagine.
she's like, when she got to Sula Elite Series, she's like, the big difference was I had to get that ball out of the net and throw the fast break. And
Yeah,
it, like the winger, she's like, Camila was, you throw it, just throw it ahead of her. If it's in the vicinity, the winger will get it.
yeah.
And she's like, that's the main thing in that style is goalies need to get that ball to throw the fast break.
You have to get it there, like, and they'll just wing it. Like, you always have to be ready for that ball. Even like I couldn't even in the corner. You couldn't just take five. Like, there was, because some of those backs, like, if they see your player take a step, they're whipping it your way, and you
Yeah,
better hope you catch that ball.
yeah,
And like, it's like, well, am I going to shoot? Am I going to pass it? Like, you have to make that decision in a split second, but you have to be ready at all times. Like, you're literally like freaking out. Like, it was so crazy, but like, I loved it. I loved every minute.
that's
Like,
awesome.
it was so great. Yeah.
So when will you know if you're going back or not?
Well, Corona's kind of messing with my plans, but I'm trying to see if I can work around it, because they canceled the first exchange, so I would have to do online. But it looks like U of A is moving to online for a
Yeah,
lot of our courses, so I
yeah,
may be able to swing it. Um, so I'm just looking into visas right now to see, because I know the student one I could do, but um, I just have to make sure, because I'm not doing like a year thing. It's just really frustrating to switch visas all the time. So I have to see if
yeah,
I can find one for the first half, and then maybe I'll have to come back in between, and then
yeah.
I'll come back. I think my mom's pretty determined that this year I'm going to be home for Christmas. So
Okay.
like, I can't, you're not allowed to be gone that long. So I think I may be home for like a month or something, but I'm trying to see if I could make it work,
Yeah,
because I mean, I really would like to
yeah,
be there. It's just, I just playing handball every weekend and play, like, going to places and being like, yeah, I play handball. And people are like, oh, that's cool. Because they know what it is. Like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Like, it's so
yeah,
nice not to be like, what's that? And you're like,
yeah,
it's this sport. This is what I do. Like,
yeah,
and yeah, yeah, it was great. I just want to go back, but I have to see if I can make it work. So I'm hoping in the next few weeks I'll know
yeah,
if I can. Otherwise, I'll be here and I'm going back at some point, because I would like to. But I
yeah,
think a big thing is when you go overseas, it's really hard, because I did joke about switching before with my mom, but it's exhausting. Like, it's exhausting to always like change places. I think if you're gonna go somewhere, like, if like, you really have to realize that, like, as much as it's an amazing experience and I wouldn't trade it for the world, but like, it's hard when you're leaving at the end and now you have all these friends, but like, at first, like, you can
yeah,
be isolated at times, because you're like, I don't know anyone here, and everyone back home is on a completely different time zone. I mean, you have FaceTime and that, but still the mornings can be quiet. And I got really lucky because I had like that Swedish family take me in, and they became like a huge resource for me. And um, I think that that was, it worked out really well. And like, even with Corona, I mean, obviously I was in the best country for
yeah,
Corona because I
yeah,
wasn't shut down that
yeah.
much, but it was really cool. So yeah,
Even
just
that's Greg. He started. I don't know how much you talked to Greg, but Greg and Abby, same thing. Abby went to Norway. I got her an offer in Germany, and she said the exact same thing. It's too exhausting starting over. And Greg, last year, he was in Denmark, and he got a good offer in Corsica in France. And he says, when I thought about it, he's like, it's too mentally exhausting to start again. And he's like, I'd rather just stay where I am, because he's like, it's you're starting your life again and again and again. And that's exactly what you said. A lot of people have said that. I have a life now. I don't want to start from zero again.
yeah. So I think eventually, if I were to stay, then like maybe one day I'd try and go
Yeah,
somewhere. But I think at first, like, you've just built these relationships. I don't just want to like
exactly.
just like leave them. So like, you're committed, and like, especially I think a lot of people don't realize, like, you get there, and I mean, at least my naive individual didn't really realize, like, hey, you're going to be playing handball in a completely different language. And I was like, like that was shocking. That was
Yeah.
so hard at first because
Yeah.
you had to learn, like one of the things I think that I didn't do when I was in Alberta is really effective communication, because you always yell like someone's coming in or like second pivot, and like you can't do that there because I don't know if they're going to understand my accent in the game. So I have to say it in Swedish, but I have to make sure I'm yelling at a specific person like, hey, so and so, there is someone coming, so that I knew that they had them, because like you couldn't afford the time like if they didn't get it. So you had to be so effective, and you had to be like you had to be there on the court. Like you had to be like, I know you're in 3, like there is someone coming. And so like that was like such a learning curve for me, was to be like making sure that like I was effectively communicating with the people beside me and I knew who it was, so that I was like, hey, like, you know, I'm leaving, like I'm like, by the way, this is happening, or hey, look out for this, like. And like learning the new language, that was like, because no offense to Canadian Swedish classes, they do not teach you handball terms
Yeah,
at all.
exactly.
They
Yeah.
didn't teach me anything. I was like shocked.
Yeah.
I get there and they're like, do you know what this is? So my coach gave me a cheat sheet, which I kept in my
Yes.
purse. But
Yeah.
in a game, you don't get a cheat sheet. You got to be out there and you're like, what? Like, what play is this? But
Yeah,
they're so.
and you know Olaf and with Cassidy and Katie going there, and they signed at Christmas time last year, so they had 6 months getting ready, and he told them you need to take German classes right now, and
Oh,
they
yeah.
didn't. And he's like, when he got there, he's like, I cannot talk to you in English in the middle of an intense game. And he was harp on him. He's like, what are you doing about German classes? Are you learning German? There's girls that can help you. You need to learn German.
Yeah.
And it takes a toll on you if you don't, because like, again, it's hard to become part of a team when they're talking Swedish or German, whatever language, and you're like, oh, I don't know what they're saying. So
I mean, luckily, like it did finally, and I did take Swedish when I got to the university. Like it's part of
that's
my
good.
minor now,
Yeah.
so I have to learn it. But um, they there was like a point where it clicked. So the girls were really funny because they're like, you understand way more than we think you do, like than we're aware. Because, but the thing was, it's so hard to talk back that I would talk to them in English because I could respond quickly. So like with strangers or with maybe the girls I was coaching, I would try Swedish, but it just took way too long. So with the girls, they would just talk Swedish, and then I would just respond in English because I could catch on typically. So it became really good. But yeah, I think Sweden also, they're so sweet, because even the coach was like, maybe I'll take one of like the team meetings in English. And I was like, there is one English person here. You do not take the whole team meeting in English for me. No, I'm here to learn Swedish. So but it's a very Swedish thing to like be polite, like do that. So
Exactly.
I think, yeah, but definitely like if you're going to go to another like country, you need to, I mean, you don't have to be perfect at it, but as long as you're putting in an effort, people really do appreciate it. And it makes the world of a difference for you, because it's so exhausting. And like translating all the time is like really tiring. So the more you know, the better.
Just the last few things. Is your goal still to play with the national team?
I would like to. I really want to go to Pan Am's because I wasn't there
Pan Am
last time.
Games?
Pardon?
Pan Am Games?
Like I've heard too many good things about them that I need to be there at some point. So that is the goal.
Okay.
I would love, like that's the driving thing for handball right now, because I just I've just heard way too many good things. And I recognize that last year, like even after being away for a year, I'm like, I wasn't ready. Like I was not ready to be there. And I want to get to that point where I'm like, I feel like I can truly contribute to this team. And I think like even like doing all the fitness training in Sweden and like doing, like we did so much as a team, and it was killer, and it sucked, but like it was so good. And like I don't wear a thing on my knee anymore. I don't wear, like my shoulder hasn't been an issue. Like we do so much stuff there that I'm like, I just feel like my body is like, it's with me now. Like I don't have to feel like I'm a broken thing anymore. Like I'm here and I want to go to the national team. But obviously I would like to see some things fixed. So as long as it's loud.
Your favorite game you've ever played?
My favorite game?
Yeah, the one memory of like your game that you just like, you always, when you talk handball, it's the
there's like so many. Like with Alberta or with anything?
Anything. To make it easier, you could do one Alberta, one Canada, one Swedish, maybe to make it easier.
I would say the Canadian game that was the best. That Mexico game was really good, but I'd say Norca, that final game in Mexico when I took my knee brace off. I don't even care that I was playing, like it wasn't even like that it was a Team Canada game. It was that I finally felt like a player again. Like that was the best game. I just like felt like I could run freely.
Yeah.
Other than that, it was that game when me and Yuki did that chest bump in the middle. We were like, I don't think like we had so much adrenaline in that game. That was the wildest thing in the world.
Yeah.
So there was that. I'm trying to think Alberta like that. It would either be when we won nationals that first junior year, because that was just like that was a moment, and like I was just like so invested in that team, or Interamnia, like that whole tournament, just like the team just was so solid, and we just all just had the best time, and like we knew we all loved the sport, so on the court you were just there for business. And I mean, we had that stupid bucket we were dumping on ourselves, and it was just or like who was it? Wasn't it Jody picked my nose in the middle of like a team talk? I think that was the shocking thing that's ever happened. That was so
I think I stopped the beat. I'm like, did you just pick her nose?
You were like yelling at us for something. You were like, you guys, you have to play defense. And Jody's like looking at me, and I was like across the circle. It was so gross. It was so so there was that. And Sweden. The first game we won was like amazing, because like we just like I think that was when like as a team we just like, because the first couple we played so many games. That was one of the things I love there. So many of our games were so tight. Like it was like we'd win in the last second, we win in the last, like we tie it in the last second. It was like so tight. Which for me at first was the most stressful thing in my life. But then you realize that it's more normal, and I think that's also because you like become a lot more calm in those situations. You're like, okay, don't have to freak out. But I think that first game where we really won, it was just like, no, actually our last game in Division 1, we were like, we'd had a tough season. We were playing a good team. It was the last few seconds, and Johan, the newer coach, had stopped the game, and he was like, we're going to do this quick play. Like, this is what we're going to do. It was a play we'd never done before. He's like, you're going to go here. You're going to go here. And it was the most beautiful thing ever. And just, it was like the biggest high to end on. Like it was so great. Yeah. That was a moment. So that felt really good. So, yeah.
That's good. And I probably, the last thing is, this might be a tough one. It's favorite roommate on a handball trip.
In a handball trip?
Yeah. Like someone that if you go on the next trip, you want them in your room.
Geez, how many trips have I been on? I'm trying to think. Who have I even roomed with? I remember rooming with Scoops. Scoops is always a good one because she treats you like she's like Mama Scoops. She got snacks, she got everything. You're taken care of. She gives massages.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a good one. It's always good. Like you're like, I'm so sore, and she's like, come here, and she just like gives you that little wave. She's great. I mean, me and Katya are like just chaos in a room. Katya and Janelle and all them. Oh, I haven't played with them in so long. Like I just would be on a trip with anyone and I'd be happy. Like
nice. That's good. That's good. And then your plans for the summer. What's your plans this summer?
I'm working in Red Deer actually. So
what kind of job do you have?
I'm working at Discovery Wildlife Park. So
it's open.
Yeah. So you can do drive-throughs part of the week, and then 3 days a week I think they're doing you can walk through it like normal. Nice. So yeah.
Is that kind of a 9 to 5 job kind of?
Yeah, I think I have to be there for like 7:30 and I'm done around 5. So it's a long day, but yeah. So it should be good, but I don't really know. Like she just sent the July schedule out, so I have to write it out, and I start in a couple days. So yeah, it worked out so well. She like called me because she needed some more people, and then we had like a little interview, and she's like, I understand that you have to do quarantine, so like once you're done, then you can. Because yeah, I know that's why I was so hoping that there would be beach in Red Deer, because I was like, yeah, I'll totally play. Like I was coaching it in Sweden, but I had no idea what I was doing. So it was super
when
fun.
I talked to Darcy, he's like, I think Bryn wants to play. She put a little hands up on Facebook.
Yeah, and
uh,
I had messaged like a few people that I'd previously coached, and I was like, "Hey, like, want to be on a team with me? Like, I'd do a
yeah.
mixed team. I can send this to McQuillan." And then I don't think I ever sent it to him, and he was just like, he's like, "Yeah, we don't have enough people." And I was like,
Well,
"Well,
it was there was, but it was like the age difference was just too much. But we started this week in Edmonton, and people had a blast playing beach, and they were like quarantine. Just, I mean, getting out and being active just started again here. People like, oh my god, I thought 10 minutes was gonna
no,
be easy.
so tiring." Like,
Yeah,
even with the girls I was coaching, they would be like, "Bryn, can you be like our goalie?" And
yeah,
then, but we wouldn't have a best player, so I'd have to run up with them, then sprint back, and they would be like, "Come on, Bryn, get back faster!" And I was like,
yeah,
"This is
yeah.
the most exhausting." And I would have training after, like I would have to go do like handball or like running, and I was like, I'm exhausted. Like, I was like, this is so hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so fun, and it's like so cool to see the different styles of it. So I'm glad that it's coming to Canada
Yeah,
now.
well, it was just because like of like our rules, so we can be in smaller groups to play. So it was a
Okay.
good way to get back in. But now we start practicing full out in a week and a half.
Oh, okay.
So
That,
we're starting like 2 days a week.
oh, that'll be
Uh, but you have to be in. We're allowed to train in groups of 50 or like
okay.
do anything in groups of 50. So like to have any kind of contact or a league, you have to stay within those 50 people in a sport.
Mm,
So, I mean, but that's better than nothing. So
yeah.
that's kind of what we're doing. So that, and then we're starting, like, because a smaller league just for August, we're going to do a 5-on-5 league, like
Okay.
5-on-5 in a smaller court, but where you work on spacing, but more games. So, because you still can have a league, but it has to be with 50 people. So you
Yeah.
got to kind of go smaller, but I mean, it's the steps you need to take right now. So,
Definitely.
um, but again, if you need to train this summer, if you're going back, you're always more than welcome to come. I mean, it'd be great to see you, and information will be out Monday on train practices and all stuff. You just got to join the cohort to be able to train with us
Yeah, for sure.
if you want to and stuff. You're more than welcome to. Sorry.
I said I'd be happy to touch a handball. I'm like so stressed about. I was gonna message actually in the Red Deer chat and be like, if anybody wants to like do outdoor workouts with me, like I need people to do them. So
Oh, that'd be
yeah,
good.
just like
Well, we're trying to get things going in Red Deer, like do some camps. But the problem is like gymnasiums in there are not opening till like November,
oh yeah, that's
like
frustrating.
where you can play handball. So
Yeah.
that's the big issue there. But I mean, you're more than welcome to come up. I know it's not easy, but there is other Red Deer people that are part of that cohort that are training with us. So
Oh,
they're
okay. Yeah,
driving
'cause
up
that
and
could
stuff.
be. I mean, I'm looking to not be. I want to be like in shape when I get back if I go.
Yeah.
But if not, I still would love to just touch a handball because
Oh yeah, you're always welcome to play with Alberta. So it's funny because like when you played, you were like the only lefty. Now we have like so many right wingers, and they're 13, 15, 16, 17 years old, and it's pretty cool to see that the sport is growing. And
yeah,
when you were it was starting to grow, but you got a lefty, and Bryn,
it
you
was
get
like
you're
yeah,
special.
it was like yeah,
Yeah,
you were like God's gift to the
yeah,
earth. Like it was like you're
exactly.
left-handed. Like that's why when I think back to like in high school, how like my coaches didn't even realize I was left-handed, and then someone said to them, they were like, "She's a lefty. Put her in the corner."
Yeah,
And they were
exactly.
like, that was when I was like, this is great. But actually, ironically, in Sweden, it was like one of the first games ever. I'd done like some cross, and I came around the middle, and me of all people, took like a sidearm shot from the back.
Ooh.
Like I remember the coach was like, maybe we should try training her as a back. Like
Uh,
she's a lefty. And I mean, they did it like they put me in Division 2 to try it like
yeah,
once, and I literally got hit so hard. I actually thought I broke my tailbone for a couple weeks there. Like I was so injured,
yeah,
and like I could hardly walk, and we were doing like fitness training, and I was like, I can't. They're like, why didn't you just stay home tonight? And I was like, no, there is no time off. But I only have
yeah,
so many games here. But I was like, it was so
exactly.
funny. Like they were like, yeah, Bryn, just go in and shoot. And I was like, and they were like, where did that come from? And I was like, not a back. not meant to be back. I still don't know what to do with all this space out here. So yeah, it was so
Nice.
funny. But I
Well,
do think lefties in the corner.
we got a pretty good year coming up. We kind of go to the Caribbean islands now because we have
Ooh,
good
yeah.
connections. So we went to Martinique, and they pay all our expenses except our plane tickets. And this year, like obviously with COVID, if everything's okay, we got Guadalupe in November. We're
Ooh,
going there, and then they're coming here in no in February. I don't. They want to come here in February. Well, I don't know why, but they do. And then
cold
we
time.
are, and then there's Martinique in March. And the
Okay.
Martinique, it's a tournament, and it's an international one. And we went last year, but a lot of our top players couldn't go, so we had a mixed team,
Okay.
and we did well. We just our first game was against a team that's first division in France,
Oy.
and
That's cool.
they won the tournament. So that was the only time we lost. But it just we had that tough first game, and that couldn't get us out of the pool. But I mean, it's cool. It's so now we're starting to talk about we should just focus on beach because you can only go to tropical places.
Literally, like
Yeah,
all these cold places, like they're always
yeah.
checked out. I'm like, oh, I didn't, and that's one thing I didn't even know about Sweden is how dark it gets.
Oh
Like
yeah,
I was just, I totally understand why they just like live in the sun in the summer. Like I am outside anytime I can be now because I was like in shock
yeah.
by how dark it was, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't deal with this. Like my sleep schedule was so whack, so I had to like make some serious changes to
Yeah.
get back on track.
Okay, well, it's been quite a long, and I don't want to keep you. I'm sure. Well, I guess you're in quarantine. You can't do much, but keep in touch. And again, like all this stuff will be out, and we'd love to see your practices. And number one, you're always an Alberta player. Number one, if you like it or not, but we'd love to see you with that Alberta jersey. And if you're going back to Sweden, that's even better. But if you need some practices and you're becoming European because you don't say practices anymore. You say trainings, and You probably call pylons cones.
Yeah, like,
And
it's so hard to think of like handball in English now, but I've
yeah,
like always like had to do it, and I'm
yeah,
trying to think like what these things are called, and I'm like, what is the word? Like,
yeah.
yeah, it's so
Well,
cool.
we're proud of you, and it's awesome to see what you're doing. And make sure you keep in touch, and hopefully you can make some practices and keep working to get back to all your goals.
Yeah, for sure. Like I'm happy to come see everybody, and I definitely, if anybody wants to go to Europe and they need someone to talk to, I will gladly talk you through all the do's and don'ts. But yeah, I think Alberta's a good start, and I am definitely very appreciative for the people that helped me get here
That's
because
awesome.
yeah, it took a long time, but here I
Yeah.
am. So it was
Well,
worth it.
when you look at it, long time, what you did in 4 or 5 years is pretty incredible. Like compared to, like you said, you're there and you're playing first division, and you're probably the only player that's only played 4 or 5 years compared to all of them. So what you've accomplished in a quick time is pretty special.
Yeah,
And yeah, so we'll keep in touch. And thank you for doing this. And
thanks
we'll
for
talk
having
to
me.
you soon.
Sounds good. Take care.
Bye.